Welcome to Mind Trip FM, your nightly historical haven. If our stories help you relax, fall asleep, or simply soothe your curious mind, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment telling us what kind of stories you'd like to hear. Now, let go of the day, close your eyes, and join us as we journey into a forgotten world. Imagine yourself rising before dawn in the highlands of central Mexico, where the cool mist clings to the jungle canopy. You are a young Aztec acolyte, summoned to prepare a most unusual offering for the temple of the sun god. Today you will witness and help create the infamous eyeball wine. You wake in a simple, reed-thatched hut within the precincts of Tenochtitlan. Your bed is a coarse mat woven from maguey fibers. You dress in a plain cotton garment, secure your sandals, and tie a cloth around your head to keep sweat from dripping into your eyes. Your heart pounds with both excitement and dread. Outside, temple drums echo across the city. Priests in bright feathered headdresses stride purposefully. Their painted faces bear the symbols of the gods. You follow them through narrow stone alleys, your footsteps soft against the flagstones worn by centuries of ritual. The aroma of incense-copal resin burning on clay censers hangs heavy in the air. You are led to the temple courtyard, where rows of agave plants have been harvested overnight. Their hearts, called Piñas, lie cut into thick wedges. Nearby, large clay vats await the fermentation. Today, these vats will hold more than the ordinary pulque beverage. Today, they will be filled with the blood and essence of sacrifice. A priest orders you to gather the first piña wedges and press them through a woven mat to extract sweet sap. The pulp falls into a waiting bowl. You pour the juice into the clay vat. Your fingers tingle at its tart sweetness. The priest nods, satisfied, and instructs the other acolytes to do the same. Next, you are given a bowl of jaguar eyeballs, staring white orbs plucked from freshly slain beasts. The ritual demands their contribution to the wine's potency. You steel yourself as you drop each eyeball into the fermenting vat. The priest whispers the sacred chant, and you watch as the eyes sink, floating briefly before sinking into the agave juice. You feel an odd thrill. The priest places a hand on your shoulder. Your service honors the gods. This wine will be offered at dusk to the sun god to ensure his favor and the continued fertility of our fields. You step back, wiping your hands on your cloth. You glance at the other acolytes, some pale with nausea, others staring with awe. No one speaks. The ritual is too solemn. As mid-morning arrives, the sun climbs overhead, baking the courtyard stones. You fetch fresh spring water to top up the vats. You dip a wooden ladle into the mixture and taste a drop. The wine is sour and slightly bitter, with a faint metallic temps. The priest sees you hesitate and chides you gently. Drink and bless the sun god. You swallow and your stomach twists, but you restrain your gag reflex. You feel the liquid slide down your throat, warming your chest. You realize this is no ordinary beverage. It is the elixir of sacrifice, carrying the life energies of both plant and beast. By midday, the vats are sealed with palm leaf mats weighted by stones. The mixture will ferment for several hours. You are dismissed to attend other temple duties, supplying incense, cleaning altars, and tending the sacred fires. Yet your mind remains on the vats and the strange power they contain. That afternoon, the temple courtyard fills with nobility and commoners alike. At dusk, they will witness the offering. But for now, you continue your tasks. You sweep the courtyard, carry bundles of copal, and refill oil lamps along the temple steps. Each movement grounds you, reminding you of your place in the grand ritual. As the sun begins its descent, you return to the vats. The agave juice has turned cloudy, and small bubbles rise to the surface. The priest inspects the mixture, then chants an invocation. He uses a carved obsidian blade to pierce the vat lid. A hiss escapes. You lean closer, inhaling the pungent aroma of fermented agave, mixed with the iron scent of the jaguar eyes. A final priestly chant, and the lament of conch shell trumpets calls the faithful to assembly. You step away, your hands trembling, as the priest signals for the censer bearers to commence the procession toward the sun god's inner sanctum. You know your part is done, but the memory of the eyeball wine will remain with you forever. By mid-afternoon, long shadows stretch across the stone courtyard. Throngs of worshippers, nobles, merchants, and commoners gather in neat rows, their faces turned toward the temple steps. They clutch woven baskets of flowers and maize prepared for the evening offering. As an acolyte, your role now shifts. You assist with the ceremonial distribution of the eyeball wine. You carry a clay jug, its surface etched with spirals of maize and sunbeams. A senior priest stands on a raised platform, clothed in a cloak of quetzal feathers. He raises a golden cup and intones the prayer, "O great Huitzilopochtli, accept this potent blood wine. Grant us strength, feed our hearts, and shine upon our city." The crowd echoes his chant, a low, rhythmic hum. You kneel beside the vat and dip a ladle into the milky liquid. You fill the jug, careful not to disturb the submerged eyes. The early ferment has turned the juice pale pink. You bring the jug to the fountain at the courtyard's center. Carved stone streams of water spill into a large basin fashioned like an eagle's beak. The priest signals, and you pour. The wine mingles with clear water, creating rivulets that flow out through stone channels. Worshippers step forward, cupping their hands or holding small gourds to catch the mixture. You watch as they taste, their eyes widening at the sharp flavor and metallic note. Some gasp, then bow their heads, clutching their chests in reverence. After the pouring, you refill the jug twice more. Each time, more eyes drink of the sacrament, offering prayers in return. You sense their gratitude. Even the lowest slave receives a drop in that moment. You understand how this wine unites all ranks under the gaze of the sun god. Once the ceremony ends, you help carry empty gourds to a collection point. The courtyard echoes with the scraping of sandals and hushed conversations. You notice one priest staggering, his face pale. He murmurs that the creative potency of the eyeball wine can overwhelm those unprepared. A colleague steadies him and leads him away for refreshment. You are tasked next with cleaning the fountain area. You sweep up spent flowers, maize husks, and wax from small votive candles. You rinse the basin with fresh water, then polish the stone eagle's beak until it gleams. The sweet scent of copal resin lingers in the air, mixed now with the faint temps of agave and blood. As dusk falls, torches line the temple steps. You fetch a final jug of wine from the sealed vat and present it to the high priest. He pours a libation onto the altar stone, a thick red stream that runs down carved glyphs of serpents and fire. The flames leap, reflecting off gilded masks. You step back, heart pounding, as he murmurs a closing prayer for the city's well-being. Afterward, you gather the empty clay jugs and carry them to a storage shelter. You stack them with care, noting cracks or chips that might allow the wine to spoil. Once the last jug is stored, you pause to gaze at the temple portal. The ringing of a conch shell signals the end of the day's rites. The great wooden doors close with a heavy thud. Your final duty is to spend 1 hour tending the sacred fires. You bring bundles of dry copal wood and place them in the lower hearth. You arrange glowing coals, ensuring a steady flame through the night. As you feed the fire, you reflect on the day's events, the harvest of agave, the solemn plunge of the jaguar eyes, the faces of those who drank deeply. Night settles over Tenochtitlan. You extinguish your torch at the temple entrance and step into the cool darkness. In the distance, the city hums with life street vendors calling out, water flowing through aqueducts, drums beating in distant shrines. You return to your hut and kneel beside your mat. You remove your simple garment, immerse your hands in water to cleanse away the day's stains, and wash your face. You feel the residue of ritual clinging to your skin, the faint, coppery scent and sweet agave. As you lie down, you recall the high priest's words, "This wine is life and death, sight and sacrifice." You close your eyes, wondering what dreams will visit you after such a day. Perhaps visions of soaring eagles or sunlit fields, or perhaps the dark glimmer of floating eyes bound forever in the heart of the temple wine. Sleep comes slowly, your breath deep and steady. Tomorrow, you will awaken again to the drumbeat to prepare for new rituals and offerings. But tonight, you rest as one who has tasted the soul of sacrifice and lived to see the dawn. Night has passed, and the first orange light of dawn touches the temple roof. You awaken to the distant chant of morning prayers. Today, the eyeball wine has finished fermenting and will be tasted by the highest priests in a private ritual. Your duties now include preparing the inner sanctum for the exclusive ceremony. You dress in your cotton garment again, this time adding a plain white overrobe to signify your role in the sacred event. You take only a small broom, water pot, and a bundle of fresh copal incense. Silence reigns in the courtyard as you pass by the sealed fermentation vats. Now the liquid they hold is dark and opaque, no longer pale pink, but deep crimson. You pause to watch a few bubbles drift to the surface, breaking one with a fingertip. You proceed through the narrow passage leading to the inner sanctum. Torches line the walls, their flicker revealing glyphs of jaguars, eagles, and hummingbirds. You light a new branch of copal and wave it gently, allowing fragrant smoke to cleanse the stone floor. You sweep away fallen ash and clear the remains of last night's votive candles. At the far end, a decorated stone altar awaits. It is carved with the image of the sun god, arms raised to receive offerings. You place your copal in holders and arrange small clay lamps around the altar's edge. Each lamp is filled with a drop of the eyeball wine to symbolize the union of life force and divine favor. A door opens behind you, and 2 senior priests enter, their feathered cloaks rustling softly. One carries a golden ladle, the other a jade chalice. They study the preparations in silence. You bow deeply, but remain at attention, knowing that you must not speak unless spoken to. The high priest places the ladle into the vat, tilts it, and fills the chalice. He lifts it to his lips and sips. The sharp temps of metallic blood and fermented agave reaches his tongue. He closes his eyes and murmurs a brief blessing in the ancient tongue. The second priest follows, drinking deeply. You feel the gravity of this moment. This is the culmination of days of work, the apex of sacrifice, and the linchpin of the city's spiritual well-being. As the priests confer in hushed tones, you step aside to light more lamps and clear stray copal ash. Your heart pounds. You are part of something far beyond daily ritual. Soon, the high priest beckons you. He hands you the jade chalice. Young acolyte, hold the offering for the people. You tremble as you accept. He gestures toward a small slit in the wall with a lattice of obsidian. Through it, you see the waiting crowd in the lower court, nobles and warriors kneeling in reverent silence. You hold the chalice high. A hush falls. With great care, you pour a small stream of wine through the lattice. It arcs into a stone basin, sending a faint splash echoing. You withdraw, bowing, then resume your place beside the altar. The priests complete their final incantations, anointing the altar stones with drops of the wine. They step back, hands extended toward the carved sun disk above. The incense smoke swirls around you all, bathed in torchlight. The ritual is complete. You help carry away the empty chalice and ladle. Then sweep the sanctuary floor one last time to remove any trace of ash or spilled wine. The inner sanctum doors close behind you with a low rumble. Outside, the temple courtyard is stirring. You return to the main altar steps, where commoners now line up for smaller offerings of pulque without eyeballs. You assist by handing out maize cakes and small cups of plain agave wine. The crowd's energy is lighter, thankful, but respectful. As the morning progresses, you resume chores, filling water basins, clearing incense ash, and assisting in preparing the midday sacrificial ceremony. Yet, in your mind, you carry the memory of the private tasting, the taste of sacrifice and divine communion. At noon, a messenger arrives with news. The warlord from Tlacopan sends tribute in the form of fresh cacao and exotic orchids. These will be offered tomorrow with the standard wine. You help store the tribute in a sheltered niche, careful to arrange blooms so their fragrance will perfume the next ritual. Late afternoon, the courtyard empties and the temple quiets. You carry a final bucket of water to rinse the steps and sweep lingering petals. The sun drops low, casting a golden glow. You pause to look up at the temple's towering facade, its reliefs glowing softly. Your duties done, you return to your hut. You wash thoroughly hands, face, and robes, washing away the day's scent of incense and fermented agave. You sit on your reed mat and contemplate the power and mystery you have served. The memory of crimson wine and floating eyes still stirs something deep within you. As dusk falls, bells sound for evening prayers. You light your small lamp and prepare for rest. Tomorrow, new rites will await, perhaps another festival, perhaps a lesser ceremony. But tonight, you close your eyes, knowing you have stood at the threshold between mortal and divine, carrying the eyeball wine from vat to altar in service of gods and empire. The next morning, you awake before sunrise. Your limbs are stiff from yesterday's rites, yet you rise to face another day of service. Today, you will assist with the purification of the sacrificial implements used in the eyeball wine ritual. The high priest has decreed that the obsidian blades and serving vessels must be sanctified before storage. You dress in clean cotton garments and tie your headcloth tightly. You carry a bronze basin filled with spring water and a bundle of sage leaves. You enter the western wing, where the ritual chamber lies sealed. Inside, you see a row of obsidian knives gleaming razor sharp alongside the clay chalices stained faintly red. The high priest ceremonies have ended, and the implements await your careful attention. You set the basin on a low stone table and position the chalices in a line. Carefully, you rinse each piece with cool water, feeling the smooth clay and razor edges pass beneath your fingertips. Then you light a sprig of burning sage and wave it over the implements. The smoke curls upward, carrying prayers of purification. You chant silently, "May these tools be cleansed of blood and sin, restored to their pure purpose." After the sage, you sprinkle sacred water over the knives. Each drop hisses as it touches obsidian. You mirror the high priest's earlier actions and offer a short prayer. You watch the water bead along the blade, then drip to the basin below. You repeat the rite for every knife and chalice, your movements slow and reverent. Once complete, you wrap each implement in fresh cotton cloth and place them in a Thecan obsidian box inlaid with jade. The Thecus lid seals with a soft snap. The high priest inspects your work, nods in approval, and instructs you to carry the Theca to the inner vault. You bow and lift the box carefully. You make your way through dimly lit corridors, past ancient murals depicting sun battles and creation myths. You step into the vault and place the Theca on a stone pedestal. The high priest seals the vault door with a clay impression of his personal symbol. You exit, heart lightened by a sense of completion. As mid-morning arrives, you are summoned to the southern courtyard. There, a group of novices gathers for an anatomy lesson. The high priest will demonstrate the significance of the human eye in life and sacrifice. You assist by distributing cloths and pouring water for hand washing. The novices stand in a circle around a table covered by a linen sheet. When the sheet is lifted, you see the skull of a jaguar and a human cranium side by side. The high priest explains that the jaguar's vision in the dark symbolizes spiritual insight, while the human eye embodies life force. He lifts a jade eye shard from the human skull and places it into a small clay cup. He gestures to you. Bring the eyeball shard to the novices. You carry the cup, and each novice reverently touches the shard before returning it. You feel the weight of tradition in their fingers, the passing of sight and soul. When the lesson ends, you collect the shard and return it to the Theca in the vault after a final blessing. By noon, the heat grows oppressive. You are permitted a brief rest in the shaded cloister. You take a cup of plain pulque and a handful of maize cakes. You close your eyes and reflect on your journey, from gathering agave to serving gods and guiding novices. You marvel that something as simple as an eye can bridge worlds. In early afternoon, you are called to the Western Plaza once more. This time, you assist with the ceremonial drumming circle. Drummers sit in a wide ring, skins taut on hollow logs. You hand each drummer a sprig of sage and remind them to cleanse their instruments with smoke before playing. As the fires die down, you stand and observe the circle come alive with rhythmic thunder. The drums echo across the plaza, calling spirits and uniting the people. You feel your chest vibrate. The high priest intones a chant, and the drums answer. You join by adding a soft hum following the sacred melody. The circle grows until you and the novices stand as one with priests and elders, connected by sight, sound, and sacrifice. As the final drumbeat fades, you help retrieve the sage bundles and extinguish embers. You guide the participants back to the temple steps for afternoon offerings of incense and flowers. You place a final offering of copal at the foot of the great sun disk, signifying the end of today's rituals. You return to your hut at dusk, weary but fulfilled. You wash the sweat from your brow and change into fresh garments. You sit by the flicker of a small lamp, writing in your simple journal. Today, I purified the tools of sacrifice and guided young eyes toward understanding. I stand between worlds, bearing sight for the living and memory for the divine. You extinguish the lamp and lie on your maguey mat. The wind rustles palm leaves outside. You close your eyes, the memory of drumbeats and scent of sage lingering. Tomorrow, new duties will arise, but tonight, your service has brought harmony between mortal and God. Night falls over Tenochtitlan, but the temples remain alive with torchlight. You awaken light to your body has earned rest, but news arrives that a special nocturnal ceremony will honor the moon goddess Coyolxauhqui. You dress quickly, don your white overrobe, and hurry to the temple's southern terrace. The moonlight glints upon carved reliefs depicting Coyolxauhqui's descent. Priests and priestesses stand in concentric circles around a central pool of water. You carry a golden bowl of the remaining eyeball wine, now thick and dark as blood at midnight. The high priest motions you forward. You step into the moonlit circle, holding the bowl aloft. He chants, "O radiant Coyolxauhqui, receive this libation drawn from sacrifice and soil. Guide our children through the night." You pour the wine in a slow spiral into the pool. Silver ripples form, reflecting torch and moonlight. As the wine disperses, you sense a shift in the air. A priestess begins a low, haunting melody on a clay flute. Others join with drums made of jaguar skin. You stand at attention, feeling the pulse of sound through your feet into the earth. The moonlight seems to dance across the water's surface. When the melody ends, you gather the empty bowl and retreat. The priests close the circle around the pool, chanting a final blessing. You watch from a side alcove as the high priest lifts a silver mirror to the moonlit sky, then to his lips, drinking a sip of the pool's water mixed with the wine. You return to your hut in silence, each step heavy with the night's gravity. You fall onto your mat, heart still thrumming with drums and chants. Sleep comes slowly. Before dawn, you stir again. The high priest's assistant summons you. The temple steps require cleaning before the next day's offerings. You rise, despite exhaustion. You step into the courtyard, where petals and wax remnants from the moonlit ceremony litter the steps. You sweep them into dustpans, careful not to disturb the wet patches near the water pool. The few priests arriving for early incense prayers nod in gratitude. As first light appears, you finish cleaning and stand before the central fountain. You toss the swept petals into the water and watch them drift. The courtyard is now pristine, a silent testament to the night's sacrifices and your tireless service. Your final task before rest is to refill the fermentation vats. You unlock the sealed lids and stir the eyeball wine vigorously to mix sediment. You reseal the vats and pour fresh water around their bases to promote cooling. You whisper a quiet benediction. May your power endure until the next sun rises. You return to your mat and lie down. The dawn birds call through open windows. Your eyelids droop. You think of the strange journey you have taken, from the fields of agave to temple altars, from crude sap to sacred wine, from mortal eyes to divine communion. Sleep carries you away, and for a few blessed hours, you rest knowing that tomorrow will bring new tasks. But tonight you served both moon and sun, mortal and divine, with unwavering devotion. You awaken before sunrise, sleep still heavy in your limbs. Today will be the final public ceremony of the season, a great thanksgiving for the sun god's favor. The eyeball wine vats stand silent behind sealed doors, their sacred contents waiting for tomorrow's renewal. But your duties are not done. Today you will assist in dismantling the festival shrines and preparing the temple for ordinary worship. You dress slowly, savoring clean robes before the day's dust returns. You carry your broom, a cloth rag, and a clay water vessel. Outside, the courtyard is strewn with festival decorations, garlands of marigolds, feathered banners, and woven mats. You join a line of acolytes, each tasked with removing adornments and storing them carefully. Your first chore is the great stairway leading to the sun god's statue. The steps still bear traces of pollen and ash. You sweep in long strokes, the bristles catching wayward petals. You gather festive banners, rolling them neatly and tying them with colored cord for storage. Each banner is sacred, woven by priestesses and blessed by fire, so you handle them with reverence. Mid-morning, you proceed to the small shrines at the courtyard's corners. These had held minor offerings each evening, bowls of maize, trays of fruit, and small cups of pulque. You empty the vessels into a clay jar for later ritual disposal. You rinse each bowl and cup with clear water, then wipe them clean. You place vessels on a low shelf to air dry, arranging them by size. Next, you gather loose mats and hide them in wooden chests. The chests are marked with obsidian glyphs, festival gear. You wipe the chest's lids clean, removing streaks of soot from last night's torches. The sun climbs higher, and you feel sweat gather at your brow despite the light breeze. By noon, a delegation of temple artisans arrives to repair thresholds and lattice screens damaged during the festivities. You clear the work area, sweeping away broken reeds and chisel chips. You fetch fresh water and deliver it to the stone carvers. They nod in thanks, honing intricate glyphs and drilling new obsidian inlays. Your role is sharing tools, clearing debris, and keeping the space safe. In early afternoon, you are summoned to the fermentation area one last time. The high priest wants to certify the emptiness of the vats before reopening for plain pulque. You remove the palm leaf seals and dip a ladle deep into the eyeball wine vat. The liquid is thicker now, settled to a dark sludge. You lift the ladle only, a few sticky drips remain. You pour them into a clay bowl for final consecration. The priest steps forward with a final incantation, touching the bowl with his blade and chanting a benediction. He pours the remaining wine into a small pit beside the temple stepsa, burial offering to the earth. You watch solemnly as the crimson liquid seeps into the ground. With that, the ancient wine cycle concludes. The priest thanks you and allows you a moment's rest. You finally sit on a stone bench, drinking water and mopping your face. You feel both relief and a tinge of loss. The wine's power lies dormant now, awaiting next season's sacraments. Late afternoon, you tour the temple perimeter, sweeping loose dust from the outer walls and courtyard edge. You clear away broken pottery shards discarded during cleaning. You check each drain, ensuring no leaves or substrate block the water flow. Temple guards patrol nearby. They acknowledge your work with respectful nods. As dusk approaches, the walls glow softly, welcoming ordinary worshippers for evening offerings of incense and prayers. You stand aside to observe. Families approach, kneeling before the sun god's outer altar, placing flowers and lighting candles. The temple is now open to all, the season's grandeur giving way to daily devotion. Your day ends as it began in hushed reverence and humble labor. You return to your hut and record the final entry in your journal. The sacred wine rests its eyes at peace in the earth. I have served gods and people from dawn until dusk, guiding ritual and clearing space for faith to bloom. Tomorrow, the temple returns to its steady heartbeats, prayer offering and everyday devotion. You extinguish your lamp and lie on your mat. Outside, the city's hum softens, blending with distant drums and street calls. You close your eyes, content in service, knowing that in the cycle of worship, your humble work sustains the bridge between mortal and divine. Morning light filters through your reed-thatched walls. Today is a day of ordinary worship, no grand rituals, no eyeball wine. Yet your role remains vital, tending the temple's daily needs and preserving the sanctity revealed through more dramatic rites. You rise, wash in cool water, and don your simple cotton garment. You sling your broom and water vessel, as always. Outside, the courtyard hums softly, with worshippers arriving to give thanks, offer prayers, and pay their respects. The air carries the scent of maize bread baking in nearby ovens. Your first task is to sweep the plaza before the outer altar. Small clay lamps glow at the altar's base, and you carefully brush away fallen petals and ash. You refill oil in each lamp, lighting them in a gentle arc that will guide devout pilgrims through midday prayers. Next, you tend the incense burners. You fetch copal resin and stir fresh embers in each censer. You move among rows of worshippers, raising gentle plumes of fragrant smoke. Many pause, inhaling deeply and closing their eyes in silent reverence. By mid-morning, you assist in distributing maize cakes and plain pulque to the faithful. You carry baskets of offerings, placing them on a long stone ledge. Worshippers approach in turn, taking a cake, raising it to their brow, and eating in humble gratitude. At the same time, you oversee the basilica's minor shrines, small alcoves devoted to different aspects of the sun god's power. You clean sacred mirrors, polish obsidian mirrors that reflect the sun's rays into dark recesses. You clear spider webs and replace faded offerings of flowers. Toward noon, the temple's water carriers arrive. They bring fresh jugs from the aqueduct, and you help channel water into stone basins. Worshippers wash their hands and faces ritual cleansing before midday prayers. You watch children splash water on their cheeks, giggling under the watchful eyes of elders. In the early afternoon lull, you climb to the rooftop terrace. From here, you oversee the city's pulse, the canal boats drifting, merchants haggling, priests walking in processions to other shrines. You pause, leaning on the low wall, breathing deep. The temple's mementos of sacrifice, the obsidian blades, the sealed vats quietly below. Today they slumber, and faith takes a gentler form. As the sun tilts west, you prepare for the evening prayer. You sweep the central altar steps once more and light new lamps. You hang fresh marigold garlands, carefully removing wilted blooms. Each garland is woven by hand yellow for life, orange for remembrance. Worshippers gather at dusk, and priests chant hymns to close the daily cycle. You stand at the back, offering cool water to those who tire, guiding the elderly to seats, and sweeping stray petals. The final torch is lit at sunset, a signal the temple doors will close momentarily. Your last duty is to secure the premises. You walk the corridors, extinguishing lanterns and lowering shutters. You check each wooden door latch, ensuring they hold safe against night's guard. The courtyard now silent, save for a few lanterns by the main gate. You return to your hut as stars glitter overhead. You sit outside on a low step, watching the temple silhouette against the sky. You reflect on days of sacrifice and service, the extremes of ritual balanced by the daily rhythms of worship. Finally, you stand and stretch, muscle memories of broom, lamp, and water jar guiding you home. You open your door, lay aside your tools, and kneel briefly in quiet thanks. Then you lie on your mat, the soft chirp of crickets as your lullaby. Sleep comes peacefully, and you dream of sunlit stones and fragrant smoke, knowing tomorrow will bring fresh duties, but always guided by the light of the gods and the simple grace of daily devotion. Another dawn breaks, and you awaken to the gentle peal of temple bells. The season of grand rites has passed, but the temple's heart still beats with daily devotion. Today, you will prepare the inner halls for a visiting delegation of mid-ranking nobles coming to renew their vows and pay homage. You dress in fresh robes, adding a colored sash denoting your status as a senior acolyte. You carry a brass basin of water and a bundle of fragrant marigolds. In the courtyard, workers repair mosaics on the inner colonnading obsidian, jade, and limestone pieces set in geometric patterns. You pause to admire their craft before sweeping stray debris into baskets. Your first duty is to cleanse the inner hall's floor. Polished stone slabs have collected dust from foot traffic. You sweep in overlapping arcs, creating decorative patterns with your broom. You fill your basin and mop the floor with scented water, using marigold petals to leave a bright trail. The pastel reflection of early sun glimmers off the stones. Next, you arrange seating for the visiting nobles. Low wooden benches are placed along the side alcoves. You drape them with woven cushions of red and gold cloth. Each cushion is embroidered with the family glyph of the Gestan eagle, a serpent, or a sun disk. You ensure each is centered and fluffed. Mid-morning, artisans bring bronze censers for incense. You place them on pedestals near the main altar. You fill each with fresh copal resin, then ignite it, watching blue-white smoke spiral upward. A dozen columns of smoke rise, marking the visitor's path and purifying the hall. By noon, the delegation arrives. You stand at the hall entrance to greet them, palms pressed together in welcome. They enter in stately procession, eyes sweeping the polished floor, the glowing smoke, the vibrant cushions. You lead them to their seats, bowing as they pass. During the ceremony, nobles offer gifts: woven textiles, carved cocoa trays, and jars of honey. You accept each gift, place it on an offering table, and sprinkle petals to honor the donor. The high priest offers benedictions between each tribute. You notice the nobles' satisfaction, their confidence in the temple's order and magnificence. After the vows are renewed, you assist in distributing sweet poke infused with marigold petals, a mild, celebratory drink. You pour small cups and hand them to the guests, who sip and smile, their glances meeting yours with appreciation. In mid-afternoon, the nobles depart. You collect leftover cups and sweep up spilled petals. You inspect the altar for debris, shards of incense, stray seeds, and clear every trace. As the sun dips west, you return to the courtyard to tend the sacred garden. Rows of agave, marigolds, and other offerings grow in stone planters. You prune spent blooms and remove weeds. You water each plant with care, recalling how their sap once became wine, unguessed by mortal eyes. Your final task is to replenish the temple's store of votive candles. You roll beeswax sheets and cut wicks, molding dozens of thin candles. You place them beside the outer gate for tomorrow's worshippers. At dusk, you stand at the temple steps, watching commoners light coins and small candles before offering prayers. You kneel, placing a marigold blossom in the communal bowl. You bow to the setting sun, whispering thanks for another day of service. You return to your hut under a sky of rising stars. You write in your journal one final line: "Today I served both mortal and divine." From noble vows to humble prayers, each act a spark in the flame of faith. You extinguish your lamp and lie down, comforted by the continuity of devotion. The next morning, a soft rain patters on the reed roof, washing dust from the courtyard stones. You awaken to the scent of wet earth and incense smoke lingering in the air. Today, the temple holds no special ceremonies, but you will oversee a grand cleaning of the rain-soaked grounds and preparation for the upcoming maize harvest festival. You don your simple cotton robe and secure your headcloth. You sweep in deliberate strokes, guiding the slurry into drains. You pause to admire the clean sweep marks a small triumph of order over chaos. Mid-morning, you are joined by a team of junior acolytes. Together, you clear fallen leaves from the sacred garden paths and lift stones displaced by roots. You guide them in stacking broken pots for repair and sweeping shallow water from the mosaic inlays. Their chatter drifts around you, eager voices, learning the importance of humble service. By noon, the rain has ceased. You direct the acolytes to hang woven mats and tapestries in alcoves to dry. Bright patterns drip in the sun, promising their vibrant colors will return. After lunch, a simple mix of corn, porridge, and fruit, you descend to the storeroom beneath the temple. Here, you inventory ritual supplies, feathers, pigments, copal gourds, and obsidian shards. You make notes in a leather ledger, marking items low in stock. You wrap fragile goods in cloth and shelve them carefully, ensuring the temple's next season will be well supplied. Early afternoon, you climb to the rooftop terrace to inspect the solar panels of polished obsidian mirrored to catch the sun's first light. You sweep dust and wash each pane, watching the reflections dance. Down below, temple guards conduct archery practice in the courtyard. You walk among the targets, retrieving arrows and resetting strawbacks. You test each arrow shaft, straightening any bends before returning them to quivers. The ambient glow against rain-washed stone walls gives the temple a reassuring warmth. As dusk settles, you gather for evening prayers. Though modest compared to festival rites, the daily closing holds its own grace. You join the line of acolytes, chanting softly as the faithful enter. You feel the cycle of service continues, one day's tasks feeding the next. After the prayers, you walk the now tidy courtyard one last time. You remember the eyes, the blood, the power, and feel gratitude for the quieter days that follow. You return to your hut, set aside your tools, and sit by the last lamp. You write a brief journal note. Today we washed away dust and rain, prepared for harvest joys. You extinguish the lamp and lie down, the steady rhythm of temple life your lullaby. The dawn after the rain brings clear skies. You awaken refreshed yet reflective, knowing tomorrow the temple will welcome the maize harvest festival. Today is your final day of service before brief respite. You dress in crisp robe and prepare your tools, broom, water vessel, and ledger. In the courtyard, you pause to scoop a handful of soil from the small offering garden and sprinkle it into your water. An old acolyte-esque ritual to ground yourself before work. Your first task is updating the temple records. You sit at a wooden table in the scriptorium, ink and quill in hand, and transcribe today's offerings, ceremonies, and maintenance tasks. You note the cleanup after the moon rite, the purification of sacred tools, and the daily worship rituals. Each line binds you to the temple's living history. Mid-morning, you accompany the high priest to inspect the black obsidian panels atop the inner sanctum. You carry a cloth and brush. He walks slowly, halting at each seam. You wipe away dust. Then he murmurs a prayer before moving on. You feel pride that your steady hand keeps these mirrors flawless. At noon, you help organize the temple treasury, where offerings, gold dust, jade beads, and woven cloth are stored. You match ledgers to chests, sealing each with clay impressions. The treasury guard bows as you pass. You return the gesture, recognizing the sacred trust. Early afternoon, you oversee final preparations for the maize festival, weaving garlands from green and golden tassels, sweeping the main plaza, and marking ceremonial paths with white ash. You stand in the center of the plaza and envision the dancing, drumming, and feast to come. As evening approaches, priests convene for a closing prayer. You join them one last time, chanting in unison beneath torchlight. The final Hewitt, Tlotli, Tlotli echoes, signaling the transition to festival days. Your final duty is a symbolic one. You carry the last broomful of the courtyard's swept petals and ash to the offering mound outside the temple walls. You pour them gently, layer by layer, as a tribute to the sun god and moon goddess alike, an offering of service itself. You return to your hut with a light heart. Tomorrow, the festival rhythm will replace your chores with celebration. But tonight, you sleep knowing you have honored every facet of faith, from the shocking eyeball wine to the humble sweep of petals. You have stood as guardian of ritual and keeper of sacred space. You lie on your magway mat, journal closed beside you. Outside, cicadas sing under the starry sky. You close your eyes, content that in the cycle of worship and labor, you have found your purpose, bridging mortal life and divine will in service to the gods and your people.